Hi, I'm Alexis Summerfield. My Clear to the Core process transforms energy and brings positive transformation. The storylines that you are about to see are real. I see images that reveal positive transformation in my clients' lives. What you are about to witness are visions of a seer. And so one of my clients called me, and her name is Sara, and I worked with her quite a lot. And she recently had leased a new condo, and it was really beautiful. And for her, it symbolized a new life and new love. She had an old relationship in the other apartment that she lived in, and she was ready to move on and experience new life, new love, new opportunity. And just as she happened during this time at the condo, she happened to run across an old love. And she had a nice conversation with him, and it was just a really nice connection. And it reminded her of what it would be like to have a new relationship that was healthy and happy, and she certainly desired it. But the clearing really was for her relationship with her new condo to release any energy that was unsupportive. And so we did 3 clearings, and then we did a set in Clear to the Core. Sara had some poor role models growing up. Her mother had been abused, her aunt had been abused. She's a young woman, and she definitely needed to bring wholeness into her life to really have a healthy, intimate love experience. And so we did a storyline. And the storyline was a field of flowers, and I saw bees pollinating them. And the scene was lovely, and then the earth kind of broke up, and I saw this troll come up from the earth, and just big and ugly. And then as there was awareness, the troll just transformed into this beautiful woman in a beautiful dress. And she was a little bit dazed, and she began to follow the path. And as she did, she looked ahead and she saw a castle. And she knew, absolutely, she was the queen of that castle. That castle representing Sara's condo. And as she got closer, she went into the castle and was acknowledged by everyone there. And she sat on the throne. And when she sat on the throne, there was another throne beside her, and the king of the castle sat beside her. And as I saw the energy evolve, then there was a baby in her arms. And so she had created this wonderful experience of wholeness, of masculine, feminine energy. The baby would represent new birth in her life, new opportunity. The king representing her masculine energy. The troll representing unconscious energy that transformed into usable energy, so that it could be of true support to Sara, that she would truly be whole and complete, and that the condo would be of great support to her in that. When I shared the storyline with her, she said she read it over and over and over again. She said it just meant so much to her because it seemed so real. She said, I've always been a queen, and she is now queen of her castle. Let it be so. Ho! This is an interesting storyline about death. It's about an elderly man. He's in his 80s and waiting to turn 84, because at age 83, he had a lot of death and rebirth archetypes from different kinds of processes. One of them is called destiny cards. It's a process I use a great deal. I found it to be amazingly accurate. And George had the Ace of Spades in Pluto. And the Ace of Spades in Pluto is a death and rebirth card, but when it's an elderly person, very often it is actual physical death. And there's another system that I use, which is Angelus Arian's growth chart. And in that cycle, he had the number 13. And in Angelus's process, the number 13 is definitely death and rebirth. Now, both of these ended a month after he worked with me, and he didn't die. Perfect. So we did several clearings and basically released fear, struggle, stuck emotions, old trauma, as he wanted to move forward as a healthy, vital, elderly person, enjoying his life and enjoying his retirement. And the first storyline was this ice skating pond. And as I saw the skater moving around, I noticed that there was a big hole in the pond and that the ice was cracking, and that this large, black, unformed energy had come to the surface. At that point, I pretty much closed it down because it was difficult, what I would call difficult energy. And we needed to do another clearing to assist that energy to move into form so it could be of assistance to George. And so the next storyline after clearing, I saw a dead tree. And that didn't surprise me, considering the process we were working with was to release death. And by the way, George, when I talked to him, he mentioned several times that he was afraid he was going to die, but there was no particular physical reason for that. So in this next storyline, I saw tangled branches in a dead tree. I saw then a black snake kind of winding around one of the branches. It opens its mouth really wide, and a hand reached in. And then the hand turned into a beautiful hand filled with light. It seemed like the hand of God. And it pulled out an orange ball. And the orange ball, I knew immediately, was the sunrise and the sunset. It became the sunrise, birth, the sunset, death, and back to birth again, rebirth, the sun rises. So it's an eternity of continual health, continual happiness, continual process of living the rest of his elderly years in a healthy way. And then I see that the tree has blossomed, that it's now the tree of life. And the leaves are alive on the branches. And then I notice that there are children playing below the tree. And the children have absolutely no fear as they kick the ball and enjoy their childhood. And those were symbols for George, the tree of life blooming, a release of fear so that he could move forward in his retirement. Let it be so. Ho! One of my favorite clients, Monica, called me. She called because she's done other clearings for herself, and they have been extremely successful, and she wants more. And so I said, great, let's do it. So she wanted more prosperity, more opportunity, more expansion in her business, more. Wonderful. So we did 3 clearings, and the clearings released things like stress, frustration, certain blocks that we had not been able to reconcile previously. And the clearings were, I felt, extremely successful. And so after I do 3 clearings, I have the option to attempt to do a storyline. And a storyline has to be, the energy has to be fairly clear in order to present an image or images that are very positive and reveal an opportunity to expand and move forward. And so this storyline for Monica was, I felt, very unusual and very interesting. So what I saw was a huge redwood tree, just beautiful, huge, in a redwood grove. And then I saw that loggers, I heard the sense of loggers, and then I saw that they were approaching the tree, and they pulled out their saw and they cut it down. And as they cut it down, the tree fell, and I could see the inner workings of the trunk, and I saw a crack there. And as I looked at it, black smoke just poured out of that trunk. And that would be an amazing image of stagnant energy that had not reconciled and that was willing to be released in order for Monica to have this great success. And so as it poured out, then I did many clearing statements. And my clearing statements are statements of love and compassion, acceptance, forgiveness. And as I did that, all of a sudden, there was a shift. And the shift created the redwood tree completely full again. The loggers were gone. The redwood tree was just beautiful. The sun was shining through. And the other trees in the grove were also just beautiful and shining. And this storyline was a powerful example of that there was still something that was holding Monica back from the great prosperity she wanted. And I've talked to her since, and things have tremendously improved. She's had some new opportunities, and the blessings seem to be coming in high level and high vibration for her. That is complete. Let it be so. Ho! A client called me about her sister Sharon, and Sharon is an alcoholic, and she had many difficulties as a child. She experienced incest as a child. She experienced a lot of betrayal as a child and as she grew up. And her sister wanted to see if she could relieve some of the internal pressures that she's had for all these years in order to release possibly the alcohol aspect and also to bring healing to her heart. Now, we did 4 sets of clearings. Some of the energy that we released was self-hate, betrayal, heartbreak, internal struggles, loss of focus in her personal goals. In the second clearing of the 3rd set, it was a 14, and so there was some very difficult energy. And the image was a spider caught in its own web. I did not go further with the storyline. The message was very clear. And so we did more clearings, and at one point in the end of the 3rd set, there was a woman with a broom, and she had a dustpan, and she was sweeping a room, and she brought all of the dust and all of the debris together in one little pile. And as I did the storyline, it was like when it all came together, there was a sparkle to it. And I realized immediately that she was bringing her own self back together. In many traditions, that's called recapitulation, pulling the different parts of yourself that you've lost back together in order to experience wholeness again. So I was very encouraged with that. And we still had to do one more set. And so we did, and this was the 4th set, and this was the last clearing in the 4th set, and this was the storyline. There was a 1920s car. It was black and shiny, and there were big wheels, and there was a woman in it. And in the car, she put her hand out the window, and she dropped a white handkerchief. And that storyline pretty much ended there, and yet I could feel the energy was still moving, but there was no completion. And what's happening then is that there is a reconciliation that needs to happen within the energy, and therefore within Sharon, in order for the fullness of the storyline to complete itself. Well, it woke me up in the middle of the night, and it completed. And so I saw the handkerchief drop. It became a puddle of light right on the road. And the puddle of light was like a reflected mirror. And she looked in the mirror, and she loved herself. And it gives me chills to this moment to re-experience that. These clearings were all about self-hate. And now there was an experience of self-love. So I knew that we had accomplished a great deal. Later I looked up and Googled what it meant to drop a white handkerchief. I had no idea. And I was amazed at how much information was about that. And it was probably more in the 1920s. And what it means is a woman would drop a handkerchief if she's looking for love, if she's trying to attract someone. The handkerchief being dropped would be an invitation. And Sharon was doing just that. She was dropping the handkerchief to experience self-love, to attract and open her heart, not to difficulty, but to radiance, and to releasing, and to be able to release all of the betrayal and difficulty she's had as a child and in the past. I was thrilled with the result, and I pray that Sharon continues to heal in this life and in the next. So be it, and so it is. Ho! So a man called me about some anxiety that he was feeling, and it was causing a lot of difficulty in his business and in his life and in his relationships. So he decided that he had wanted to do Clear to the Core. And Clear to the Core is, includes several clearings in different sets. And usually it takes 3 sets of 4 clearings to complete it. So we did several clearings for this gentleman and released present time issues. And as we went back in time, trying to align him with opportunity for continuing to release the anxiety to live a peaceful, happy life. And so we did 3 sets, and on the first clearing of the 3rd set, the energy was particularly difficult. And in my business, I call that a 14. And I saw in the storyline a hunter in the woods, and the hunter killed a deer, and then it killed the whole family of deers. Now this would be very typical of a 14 when energy is truly misaligned. I did mantras for clearing the aggressive energy that was causing the anxiety because it made itself very, very clear in that particular scenario. And then we did another clearing, and we did a 3rd clearing because each set has 3 clearings. So in this final storyline, I saw a man in a canoe in a stream, but it was very rapid water. And he was moving toward the shore. The stream was shallow and narrow, and as I did clearing statements of love and compassion and forgiveness, the stream just kind of opened up into a tranquil lake, which would be a very powerful symbol of the release of anxiety. As that happened, he saw a group of deer, and there was a buck, and then there was a family. And so he went over to the shore, and he just kind of melted in the idyllic scene, and he became part of it, and he became one with it. And that was just a powerful storyline showing the example of the release of anxiety and the release of the difficulty, moving from the last storyline of killing the deer, killing the family of deers, a lot of angst, a lot of challenge. Now that the stream was rapid water, turned into a tranquil lake, and as he blended in with the scene, truly the complete release of anxiety was manifest. So as I completed that, I had gone on a hike a little bit later. And then I was hiking and I realized I had forgotten to send him the storyline. And so as I kind of went over it in my mind, I was going to just do an audio on my phone while I was hiking. And at that moment, a buck just leapt, not directly in front of me, but maybe 20 feet from me. And I have never experienced anything like that when I was hiking. It was so magnificent, and I absolutely recognized that that buck was a symbol of the power of the storyline and the energy of peace, because a deer represents peace. The energy of peace entering my client's life. Our Clear to the Core was very successful. Things from that time on went so much better for him, and he was able to make a shift in his business and his personal life. Let it be so. Ho! Thank you for watching. If you're interested in the Clear to the Core process, contact me at alexissummerfield.com.